Good morning, beloveds. Today, I expected to be in a pulpit in Palatka, Florida, with the wonderful Unitarian Universalists of Putnam County, delivering a sermon about Lent. But life has changed. For me, and for so many of you, they, like many, many houses of worship, have responsibly and ethically chosen to suspend services to protect their congregation and to protect the greater community. That is what it means to walk a holy path, to think of oneself and one's community, to think of myself and the whole world. And thus I am here, like so many of you, working from home. Yes, this is home. This is my backyard. Because when we say we must be home, it doesn't mean we have to stay inside. That's really important. Get out into the sun. Take a walk with your dog. Take a walk if you don't have a dog. Social distancing is really important. Take a walk 6 feet away from anybody else. But breathe in the air provided by all the green and give thanks for this. It is so very, very important. Be in the sun as it rises, as it sets, knowing that we're all reflected light. That's where we are now. We're reflected light, and we must reflect it back to each and every one we see. Yes, this is a service about Lent. The original title of this sermon was Reclaiming Lent, and I was told by people that maybe I needed to change my topic. Maybe I needed to have a topic that was more timely and more important. And I thought about it for a moment. And then I thought, no, maybe that's exactly what we need to. What if Lent is not a season of sin and sacrifice, but a season that's about restoration and renewal? Because I think that's what it really is. Lent comes from the word for spring, time when the earth prepares to bring herself forward once again, renewed. It's also mud season. Yuck. Yay. No mud, no lotus. Lent also means longer days. And that's exactly what we're experiencing. More and more light creeping slowly and slowly and slowly. Sometimes so slowly we fail to even see it amidst the rain. But it's coming. It is coming. Often it's compared to the 9th month of pregnancy, where you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for everything to finally come together and for Christ to be born again, renewed. But what does it mean to gestate hope now? Does that metaphor even work for us today? I don't know. But in the context of spring, let us look again at what it might mean to give birth to hope. This is a dramatic season. Everybody's talking COVID-19, primary races, stock markets are reeling, climate change realities are everywhere. Megan O'Rourke in The Atlantic on Thursday wrote, quote, "You've probably read or heard the poet John Donne's famous formulation, 'No man is an island.' You have it on little plaques to put up on walls. It's memes all over your Facebook pages. No man is an island." He wrote this line after almost dying of spotted fever in 1623. Donne was 51, and the dean of St. Paul's Cathedral when he fell gravely ill. His daughter was engaged to be married, and when he got sick, he urged her to wed while he was still in the hospital, so he would know she was taken care of. From his bed, he listened to the church bells toll the news of weddings and deaths from the epidemic that was surrounding him, and it was an epidemic. Physically, Donne felt largely alone. Quote, "Variable and therefore miserable condition of man, this minute I was well and am ill, this minute," he wrote. "If sickness is the greatest misery, so the greatest misery is sickness, is solitude." And yet, the very loneliness of lying in bed was what led him to his most famous insight about the human experience. No man is an island, entirely of himself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main. Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And that is no more truer than it is this very moment. And again, I want to emphasize While we must practice social distancing, we must not practice emotional distancing. We must not practice spiritual distancing. While you've heard it before, we're not some bodies having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having an embodied experience. And nothing could be truer about that than now. We must take care of each other always. So, why Lent? Why am I still here? Why does some ancient Christian holiday practice have to teach us in this moment? Well, as an interfaith, interspiritual minister, I really wanted to bring these things together in this coming light. I wanted to explore it, and so I have. These are dark times, but they are times where we're growing into the light, even if we can't see it. These are dark times, we're told, by voices all around us. Some of them by humans, some by the media. Oh, they're humans. Some by other species. And perhaps I think the earth herself is crying out to us. And many of us are scared. While I was in my reading, I was reading Hafiz, the Muslim poet, one of my absolute favorites. And it's important for me to say the Muslim poet right now. Why? Because so many people are unaware that these beautiful poems that they put in their weddings. I had this experience. Women wanted this poem in their wedding, and she was like, "He's Muslim?" Like, yes, he was Muslim. This poem spoke to me this week deeply, and so I want to share it with you. Because so many of us are scared. Fear is the cheapest room in the house. Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I would like to see you living in better conditions. For your mother and my mother were friends. Your mother and my mother were friends. I know the innkeeper in this part of the universe. Get some rest tonight. Come to my verse tomorrow. We'll go speak to the friend together. I should not make any promises right now. But I know if you pray, somewhere in the world, something good will happen. God wants to see more love and playfulness in your eyes. For that will be your greatest witness to him, or her, or them. Friend, your soul and my soul once sat together in the beloved's womb, playing footsie. Your heart and my heart are very, very old friends. You see, we've been here before. You were here because your DNA made it through the pandemic in 1918. They called it the Spanish flu, even though it originated here in the USA. But it also made it through the Black Death of the Middle Ages. In East Africa right now, there is a plague of biblical proportions. East Africa is being eaten by locusts, threatening the food supply of millions. And it's not lost on me, although Passover is not until April. We have sent far too many of our firstborns to die in needless wars. The list goes on. It is grim. But everyone listening to this is a survivor. If you're out there and you're watching this, you are a survivor. You've survived countless plagues and horrors for tens of thousands of years. It's important to remember that with every breath, be grateful. Give thanks. It was hard, but we've done hard things before. Reverend Dr. Lynn Unger, Unitarian Unionist minister for the Church of the Larger Fellowship, wrote this beautiful poem this week, and I want to share it. Wash your hands. We are humans relearning to wash our hands. Washing our hands is an act of love. Washing our hands is an act of care. Washing our hands is an act that pulls the hypervigilant body at ease. Washing our hands helps us return to ourselves by washing away that which does not serve. Wash your hands like you're washing the only teacup left by your great-grandmother, carried across the ocean, like you are washing the hair of the beloved who is dying. like you're washing the feet of gracefully boards. Beyonce, Jesus, your auntie, Audre Lorde, Mary Oliver, you get the picture. Like this water poured from a jug at your best friend just carried 3 miles from the spring they had to climb a mountain to reach. Like water is a precious resource made of time and miracle. Like water is a precious resource made of time and miracle. Wash your hands and cough into your elbow. Rest more, stay home, drink water, have some soup, they say. To which I would add, burn some plants for your ancestors. Burned when there was fear in the air. Boil some aromatic leaves in the pot on your stove until your windows steam up. Open your windows. Eat a piece of garlic every day. Tie clover around your neck. Breathe. My friends, it has always been true, these things. It has always been time. It is always true that we should move with care and attention. Asking, do you want to bump elbows instead? With everyone we meet. It is always true that people are living with one lung, with immune systems that don't work so well, or perhaps work too hard, fighting against themselves. It is already true that people are hoarding the things that most vulnerable need. It is already time that we want to fly on airplanes less and not go to work when we're sick. It is already time that we might want to know who in our neighborhood has cancer, who has a new baby, who is old, with children in another state, who has extra water, who has a root cellar, who's a nurse, who has a garden full of enclimane and nettles. It's already time that temporary non-disabled people think about living with chronic illness and disabled folks. That young people think about old people. It is time to stop using synthetic fragrances, not to smell like bodies, to pretend we're not all dying. It's already time to remember that those scents make us more sick. It's already time not to take it personally when someone doesn't want to hug you. It's already time to slow down and feel how scared we are. We are afraid, and we're living in a time of fires. When fear arises, and it will, let it wash over your whole body instead of staying curled up in your shoulders. If your heart tightens, contract and expand. Science says compassion strengthens the immune system. Science says compassion strengthens the immune system. We already know that. But capitalism gives us some amnesia and tricks us into thinking it's the thing that protects us. It's the way we hold the thing, the way we do the thing. Those of us who have forgotten amuletic traditions, those of us who have forgotten amuletic traditions, we turn to hoarding hand sanitizer and masks. We find someone to blame and we think that will help. Want to blame something? Blame capitalism, blame patriarchy, blame white supremacy. It's already time to remember to hang garlic on our doors, to dip our handkerchiefs in thyme tea and rub salt on our feet, to pray the rosary, kiss the mezuzah, cleanse with an egg. In the middle of the night when you wake up with terror in your belly, it's time to think about stardust and geological time, redwoods and dance parties and mushrooms remediating toxic soil. It is time to care for one another, to pray over water, to wash away fear every time we wash our hands. I'm going to read that last bit again. It is time to care for one another, to pray over water, to wash away fear every time we wash away hands. Yes, we must wash away our fears. I used to always say the antidote for fear is curiosity. What in this moment can I learn? What in this moment can I see? What's beautiful in this moment? What is real in this moment? When you get scared, take a breath, get curious. To be able to see clearly that love surrounds us in all ways. The cornerstones of Lent, before they were co-opted by power and control of an institutionalized church, before they became things that were gatekeepers, you would be excommunicated, but if you do these things, then we will let you back in. This, Lent was simple. It was effective tools to bring us back into relationships with the divine, to help us reconnect with the holy. They are prayer and contemplation, fasting and almsgiving. Prayer and contemplation. Simple, but few of us do it. We get tied up with the word prayer. What does it mean to pray? It's any time you have a voice to that which is greater than you. Whatever that voice might be, that's a prayer. Contemplation is any time you take into your heart and think. I'd like to offer the Lord's Prayer, but perhaps not the one you know. Because every time we hear these prayers, they're all translation, and they've all been translated at a time and a moment. This time and the moment, I think, calls for a translation by Fred Kelp. Close your eyes. There's nobody here but us, and everybody else. Indwelling God, infused through all existence, we honor you by many names. Your realm is the human heart. We accept life for all it can be on earth throughout all creation. May we continue to draw sustenance from this earth, and may we receive forgiveness equal to our own, and may we forgive others. May we evermore move from separation towards union, to live in grace with love in our hearts, forever and ever. Fasting. Much has been said about fasting. Fasting as a child was giving up chocolate. You gave up chocolate for Lent so that you would get the big chocolate Easter bunny in your basket. Yay, booyah! No. And somehow giving up something as sacrifice was equal to sacrifice of Jesus. In that story, how is that possible? How could anybody ever do that? We do these ideas that keep us distant. Fasting was and is removing something from your life that impedes your connection with the holy. That's all. Maybe you want to fast from hoarding toilet paper or hand sanitizer. Maybe you want to fast from a game that you play on your iPad. Maybe you need to fast from shame and blame. To fast is to remove that which disconnects you from the holy. It is not punitive. It is not meant to be a sacrifice where you put yourself down. It is meant to be a window that you can open yourself up to. And lastly, almsgiving. This one almost always gets forgotten. Almsgiving, what does that mean? It means to give things to those that have less. Like some of your toilet paper, perhaps. Which might look... Often these days we think of it as money. Almsgiving is money. If I have a little money, I'll write a check. And I will have given something, I will be good. That's one version. But it also might look like checking on a neighbor and seeing, do they need someone to go to the store for them because they're too compromised to go? That is service, is almsgiving. It also might mean to remember the churches that are all gone dark. There's no one collecting the collection plates. You might want to remember that, so that everybody who is in your wheel can also continue doing the service that they're doing. What does almsgiving mean to you? That's something to sit with. What does it look like? What do you need? What can you do without? What can you give to someone that might need it? Maybe it's all those pairs of pants that you can't fit into anymore. Why do you still have them? Give them away. Someone else would fit into them. It looks like different things, but it's a moment in time to look at almsgiving. Those three cornerstones, I believe, can help us through these days. Lent starts with Ash Wednesday, where the ashes are taken of the last palms from the year before, mixed with dust, to remind us that we are embodied, we are human. It's not out there. It's a ritual that's very practical. It says, we are human, we are dust, we are clay, we are ashes, and we're going to return, and that is us. And that is beautiful. Then Unger wrote a poem on the 11th that I want to read. When we come into these times like these, poets, we are filled with words that spill out over our pages that need to be heard as wide as possible. I think this is one of them, called Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews considered the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing. Pray. Touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. Who could deny it now? Know that our lives are in each other's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out with your hands. Reach out with your heart. Reach out with your words. Reach out with all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. And that is our charge. That is our charge today, this Lent, to contemplate, to pray, to be still, to wash our hands, to release fear, and to love. Compassion truly is palliative. It boosts our immune systems, but it also helps heal our world. Go out, sit in the sun. Watch as spring comes forth again. Yes, it's mud season. No mud, no lotus. Oh, beloveds, I love you. I would say I miss you, but you were there. You were here. So am I. Blessed be.